answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Hey, hey, hey. It is that time again. Welcome to the party, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations.
For who?
For you.
For you.
It's all about you, baby.
This one is all about you.
It is.
This one is absolutely all about you.
It's all about you.
Yeah. So, hey, I'm looking down on my screen right now because
he's rude.
As we record these, I'm really rude. Well, I am kind of rude, but as we prepare the production for the Radio Edge on KLDT 1220 AM in the Mile High City and on the interwebs everywhere. Shout out Crawford Broadcasting. Shout out super producer Nikki Nicole in their Skittles, as we call her. Sometimes it depends on week to week. We love her. Man, as anyhow, right now as we're preparing this production, we're also live. We're also live streaming on Facebook, on the interwebs, on everywhere. And so if you ever want to tune us in on the lives of these bad boys, you can do that on Monday evenings, Monday afternoons in the Mile High, and Tuesdays as well.
Yes.
And so I'm looking down now because I hit share. You know why I hit share? I hit share because I care.
You do care.
And if you care, you would hit share.
We care about all you folks,
yeah,
and we want to share. And for those of you who either don't know what a radio is, have no idea what AM/FM is, and only know how to use the interwebs, we are also on YouTube and on all the podcast channels everywhere. So you can catch up on our past episodes. You can check out what we're up to next. And coming up today,
trigger alert, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have a warning.
Get your tissues.
Trigger warning.
Get your tissues.
Trigger warning. Hey, if you are live right now, you can go on Facebook, and if you comment on there on the Mad Men of Masculinity page, JBK will make you famous.
Lights out.
Put your right up on the screen, your comment there, and name and all that kind of good stuff. Because today we're still in our kind of divorce train.
It's the divorce month, apparently.
I don't know. It might be divorce year. The way we keep going, these topics, man.
It's so deep.
We just keep. Last time we were like, man. By the time we got halfway through the show, we realized, man, this is a series.
Yeah, we didn't get anywhere. We had this whole idea we're going to talk about the effects of divorce on men, and we didn't get within 2 miles of even that destination. We were way out because there's so many layers to it. And speaking of layers, this young gentleman over here, because he is the more experienced when it comes to this topic.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
Well, it's true. You are the more experienced when it comes to the big D topic.
Yeah.
And he had came up with a list of things that you wish you'd known. Was it you wish you'd known before? Was that what it was?
Yeah. So here's the dealio, family. So I am a 2-time offender. I'm not proud of it, but I am thankful because it wouldn't get me to where I am today had I not been through the trials. I learned a whole lot of lessons. As I said the last time, it's definitely vulnerable. Not a very fun thing to say, but I will admit that I've been in 2 weddings, but never been married because I did it wrong 2 times. I absolutely did, man. And then of course, JBK over here, I was on my screen. JBK over here, he's a 0-time offender.
Well, at least not in that way.
Not in that way. Yeah, he hasn't got his poop in the group yet. Come
on now.
In that kind of way. So that's our perspective. And so we're coming at this from a man-centric perspective, and from the male experience, from really, our personal experience, but then also male perspective and that kind of stuff. So I texted JBK and I said, hey man, there's some things that I wish I would have known when I was going through divorce.
And I'm very interested because, I'm ripe and ready to go down in that direction.
Are you?
Well, not the divorce direction. No.
Yeah.
You're correct there. But I think I would like to learn from all of those who have gone before me and not make the same mistakes. So, let's get into them.
So there's probably a book that I could write on this, and I'm sure somebody has. But I mean, just so many lessons. My first divorce was terrible. I mean, it was toxic. It was so ugly. It was drawn out over a couple years. I mean, it was bad. And it was just bad. And quite honestly, the kids suffered worse. And then my second divorce, we didn't even have attorneys. We did it all ourselves. There was no drama. There's no nothing. Matter of fact, if she was here right now, you would probably guess that we were exes. We get along, and so yeah, we really don't have the emotional attachment of divorce. So anyhow, I experienced things from a toxic perspective, and I experienced it from a not so toxic perspective, but still it was a divorce, so obviously it wasn't good circumstance.
Right.
But anyhow, so yeah, that's the perspective. So I had a list, and I threw out a list to JBK, and I was like, man, I think this might be probably near the top 4.
Well, you sent me the list, and I'll be honest, I was like, that's not what I thought you were going to send. I can see some of those topics, why they would be paramount and probably good subjects to get into. But I would be honest, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What is this list, and how does this? Okay, so I'm very intrigued to see where you go with it, because I'm like, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. So let me look back at, so the one I sent you, okay, so go top to bottom, because so the top is like number 4 and the bottom is number 1.
Wait, what?
So the top one I sent you is number 4 and the bottom one is number 1. So end on number 1. You know what I'm saying?
So start with
like a David Letterman top, whatever.
Right.
So yeah, the top one is start there and go down.
Right. So start with don't be alone, right?
Ooh, don't be alone. Yeah.
What do you mean by that? I mean, you're married, right?
Well, yeah. When you're going through divorce, man, it can be one of the loneliest feelings in the world for both parties, I'm sure. Women are a whole lot better at connecting with other people and surrounding themselves with support and all of those kinds of things. Men, not so much. Men, we tend to go into the cave. We tend to isolate. We tend to cut off. And in that time of life, if you're going through that, and I don't wish any of this on anybody, by the way. I mean, I would rather you do the dating and marriage and all that kind of stuff right and never end up there. But number 4, I would say don't do it alone. In other words, get around some other guys, stay around some other guys, stay around some other people. I'm not saying go out and, just kind of hit the streets in terms of he belongs to the streets. But I'm not talking about that. Don't be alone. I'm talking about surround yourself with guys, just a support structure, a support system, some 2 a.m. guys, at least one 2 a.m. guy. You need at least 1 or 2 10 p.m. guys, maybe a half a dozen 4 p.m. guys. And then, another half a dozen just text during the day, what's up kind of guys.
Yeah. And this is something, not even only on the divorce topic, this is something we talk about regularly.
Right.
You need your wolf pack, you need your group of guys, and you need to be around them. And something that came up on the last week's B-Men meeting that I was at, we need to, because we tend to prioritize all of these other things, but then we do not prioritize our mental health or even planning for these things to happen in our lives. Most of us, hope for the best, and if you're lucky, you plan for the worst. But we don't necessarily go, well, when I'm heartbroken or when I'm going through these like crises of divorce or issues, what is my plan? Do I have a bug out bag? Do I have my 2 a.m. guy on speed dial? Like, what is my plan? And if you don't have a group of guys, how are you even going to make a plan? Because you don't even have a crew to connect with and talk about and make a plan with. So something to think about as far as the do not do it alone thing or do not be alone. Make sure you have a group of guys around, a group of healthy guys, not the dudes at the bar, not the dudes at the strip club, a group of healthy guys that work on themselves and create a plan. I think it's something that we make fire escape plans and fire drills, and we make all these other plans for catastrophes, but we don't think about what bad might happen in our lives or the struggles we may go through in a way of, I should probably plan for this, or at least have some kind of idea in my head what I'm going to do when these things most likely will happen. Because life is full of ups and downs, and if we only plan for the ups, the downs are going to knock you off your socks.
Yeah, and the major part of that is having somebody to bounce some thoughts and some, what you're going through, bounce that off of. Quite honestly, that might be counseling. It might be going through it with therapy, but that can maybe get kind of expensive. So I say join some kind of men's group or join a circle of guys or something like that. You got some options. If you're part of a church membership or if you're part of just non-affiliated, like you mentioned, we do B-Men. I know off the top of my head, like 3 or 4 groups, male groups or men's groups that meet and have just kind of different perspectives, different places and all that kind of stuff. But you want to have somebody that you can just at least vent and talk to, and maybe talk you off of some ledges, literally, metaphorically, talk you off of some ledges when you're going through some stuff. You need to have somebody that you can vent to, that you can share ideas that you feel comfortable with. Like, man, here's what I'm going through, and to be able to share what that experience is like.
And if you want to know the reason why men are 4 times more likely to self-delete and take themselves out and take, leave the planet, a lot of that comes from the fact that they do not communicate. They don't have a safe group of friends to communicate with. And so when you don't talk these things out, and that's why therapy is so popular and so effective, because just the fact of talking through these things eases the pressure. It's like taking like hitting the little button on the pressure cooker and letting the steam out. When you have guys around to talk about it, it lets some of that out. And number one, when you talk to those guys, you're going to find out really quickly you're not alone, that most guys will be dealing with exactly the same thing you're dealing with, or have dealt with it. So having these guys to talk to with will keep you away from jumping off the cliff and self-ending and doing all those things that we see so much of nowadays. That it's sad, and it's a crisis that we need to look at. And the way we fix it is coming together as men in a healthy way to talk about the things that bother us and drive us crazy, and the things that we normally in our society, quote unquote, would not talk about.
Especially if it's somebody, if it's a guy or guys you can do stuff with, go golf or go to the gym or whatever your hobby is. Especially if it's a guy that you can go do stuff with, because guys bond shoulder to shoulder. Women tend to bond face to face, but guys bond shoulder to shoulder. And when we're doing stuff, a sport or something like that, then that gives us the opportunity to be active doing something, but then at the same time be able to talk and share. Because I'm telling you, man, it's going to feel lonely, and it's going to feel like, you're going to have all kinds of thoughts going through you, crazy thoughts too, man. And it's not the time to be isolated, because at that point, when you're going through that, it feels like your whole world is just collapsing. It feels like your whole world is just, is coming back to get you, coming back to haunt you. Because like you said last week, JBK, the one you married ain't the one you divorced. And you're going to be shocked at the stuff that can happen, the stuff that can be said, the stuff that can be brought back against you in order to quote unquote win the divorce. And you need somebody to do stuff with and to talk you off some ledges, because you're going to trip, man. You're going to be surprised at some of the thoughts that go through your head.
Yeah, just imagine, we never like to go one is worse or one is better or one has it worse. But when it comes to heartbreak and divorce and breakups for men, it is usually a lot worse, because we're not used to dealing with our emotions. And we've, in some ways, invested a lot for that relationship. And so when it ends like that, it affects us a lot. And if we don't have a plan to deal with that, then we're going to be left out in the cold. Well, I guess it's just me, and I probably should go. Speaking of going. Why you gotta steal my thunder?
We're on the same page, man. We're on the same page.
We're gonna take a break. So we'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC, 1220 AM in the Mile High City. Be right back.
Boom. I tell you what, the nectar of men, the nectar of manhood right here. It's the yeah. Mm-hmm. If you thirsty and you a man, you drink this right here. Mm-hmm.
Are we supposed to say we're thirsty? Isn't that like simping?
Man thirsty.
Oh, man thirsty. Okay.
If you have man thirst.
Yeah.
If you got man thirst right here. This is man thirst 3000. Man thirst. You work up a man thirst. You do it right here with this. Hey, if you're watching this right now, seriously, if you comment on our Facebook page, we'll see your comments, and we love any kind of feedback, men or women. And we're about to get into some. And
yeah, ladies, we know you watch it. I've seen the analytics. We know you're 6% of the audience, so don't be shy.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Super producer Nikki Nicole, what's happening back there?
And she hasn't kicked us out yet. She's
you have a Harley Quinn look today. Yeah, you got the Harley Quinn. You got the Harley Quinn pigtails with the colors and all that kind of stuff. Just don't pull out a bat or a hammer or whatever she got. Nice. Save it for the children.
You hear that, little kids?
No, they didn't. We're gonna make sure nobody hears that. Oh, ain't nothing wrong with that. training them for life.
Yeah, if they can take the beatings at home, they can take the beatings in life.
So no.
I'm glad we didn't put that on the air. Lord have mercy.
Lord have mercy.
Okay.
And we're back. We be back. We back like afros.
Are we?
We back like mullets.
There
Mullets
we
are
go.
coming back now. I don't know what's up with that, man.
I don't
Please
know.
stop that.
Please.
Stop that, people.
I
For
know-
real.
I know.
Bro, I mean, like seriously, stop that.
I know
Stop
you're
it.
all about that party in the back, but come on.
Yeah,
man.
let's ban let's
Oh.
ban mullets.
There's some things that went out of style for a reason that need to stay
Yeah, let's ban
out
mullets.
of
Let's
style.
ban mullets. Hey, so we're talking about divorce. You know,
Mm,
you're not gonna be able to ban divorce because we got a whole lot of dysfunctional people marrying dysfunctional people
yes.
and fractional people, not whole people. And when you multiply fractions, you get a fraction. And so, unfortunately, you know, statistically speaking, on a mass level, on a gross across the board level, you know, 50+% of marriages end in divorce. When you dig deep beneath the surface, it's the multiple divorces that keep skewing that number. So it's people that keep doing it over and over again and not fixing the common factor, which is themselves.
Mhm.
And I'm a prime example of that in the past, anyway. I mean, I feel like I got my poop in the group now, so I'm ready.
Don't
But
don't get all big headed now.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Bring me. I want that smoke. I want all that smoke. Bring it to me, baby.
That big old head.
You know what I'm saying? Bring it to me, for real. So I sent JBK my kind of top 4. You know, there's method to the madness. There's 4 segments to this show, so I sent my top 4. I figured we can do one a segment. If I could do 10, but that'd be hard to squeeze them in.
Yeah. And each one of these is we can talk
Yeah.
miles on it. So
Yeah.
let's get to number 2, sir.
Boom. Well, number
So-
3.
Number what? No.
3,
Whatever.
4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
We're just thinking
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, I know. See what I'm saying? See how
But
confusing
it's the
it is?
second one, which is number 3, because we got 2 and then we got 1. See, the last one is like, and the number 1 thing that I wish I would like,
Okay.
All right, man.
Maybe
Y'all
should
do what
put-
you want to do. Fine.
Maybe
Fine.
you should have put
You don't
that in
need me.
there.
I'm just gonna sit over here and pout.
See this
You don't need me.
we're doing a men's
Nah,
podcast,
nah.
and he's pouting because he didn't explain how to do his list his way.
See, that's why I countdown.
Countdown.
You see how difficult I am? That's why I had 2 divorces in the
I'm gonna
past.
smack this countdown across anyway. Number 3 for
Or-
all y'all
or
at
2.
home. Now it's on.
See,
Speaking of now it's on.
Mhm.
Don't play the games.
Bruh, fellas, I'm telling you. I mean, I'm speaking to guys. All right, I'm speaking to guys. See, what's gonna happen is
What had happened
what
was
had happened was, first of all, statistically, 70-80+% of breakups, including divorces, are initiated by the woman.
80 plus.
80+. And generally speaking, women are more emotional, men are more rational.
Mostly.
What will probably happen, you know, especially if she files for divorce, it will become pretty emotional.
Mhm.
And it can become a win at all costs kind of thing. And so, guys, you have to, and okay, I'm sure somebody's going to say, well, that wasn't me. I'm not like that, whatever. Okay, I'm not talking to you then.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, keep the meat, spit out the bones, all right? If the rock hit you, it was meant for you. If it gets emotional and if it gets, you know, off center, if it gets personal, if it gets like, okay, wait a minute, now you hit below the belt. Guys, you have to be sure that you don't play that game. You don't play the game of talking bad to your kids about your ex. You don't play the game of the arguing and the screaming. You don't play the game of the emails and all that kind of stuff going back and forth, because guess what? All that can be brought up in court. Anything documented. So you don't go back and forth with all that kind of stuff if it gets emotional and if it gets off track. You have to be sure that you're not willing to compromise who you are as a man, because there's going to be a lot of things said about you that may or may not be true, and quite honestly, some of it may not be true in terms of the real deal, the both sides of the story. But you have to be willing to keep a level head as much as possible. I know your pockets are going to be hemorrhaging. That lawyer is going to ask for a big old retainer right up front, and they're going to bill a whole bunch off of that. I get it. And then I know that in some of your cases, you know, she's going to be running up a legal bill and then expecting you to pay for it. You know, I know in all those cases. I mean, I had one that stretched out for 2 years, bro. And so I'm telling you, when or if it goes sour, left, whatever you want to call it, you can't follow. You got to maintain you. You got to make sure that you can look at yourself in the mirror as a man when this is all said and done, and just keep your composure, keep your identity, keep your sense of self in the midst of the crisis.
Yeah, some of the best advice I've heard when it comes to, if it comes down to the time where you can't reconcile and it's time to split, focus on what's most important. And I've coached some folks from this mindset of, if you have kids and you can't make the relationship work together as the adults, then your focus now needs to be the kids, and you become the best co-parents you can be. But of course, that is dependent upon you have a partner who is reasonable enough to work with. If she is not, then do the best you can. But honestly, when you're going to split the finances, you're going to split the homes, you're going to split the family, what's most important now is, okay, you both have children, and those need to be your priorities. It's not about what he said or what she said or what y'all did or whatever. That's over now. Now it's time to focus on the future.
Now, that doesn't mean roll over and just take it. That doesn't mean you play victim. You're not a victim. Men, you have the power to advocate for yourself as much as possible in the legal system. Now, has the legal system been slanted towards the wives/moms historically? Absolutely. But does that mean you just let whatever happen happen? No. You stand up for your kids. You advocate. You verbalize. You vocalize the fact that you want to be a good father. You make it known in court records that you don't want to just back off and go away, that you want to be part of their lives, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you make it clear that you want to maintain who you are, including your self-worth, your identity, all those kinds of things. But don't play the game of getting emotional, because I'm telling you, as soon as you do, you're done. And a lot of times the guys that get really messed over in court played the game. They got emotional. They went with the text messages, the emails. They went and tried to get even and all this other kind of stuff. And then all of a sudden, bam, when all that gets pulled up in court, email records and all this other kind of stuff, and the money you've been hiding, here and there and all this other kind of stuff, when all that comes forward, then you're done. Then you're a done deal. So don't play the game, but absolutely advocate for yourself and stand up for everything, especially you wanting to be in your kids' lives.
Yeah, and talking about making a plan, this is something you want to research and make a plan about. And I know none of us want to think about, well, I'm getting in this marriage and this is going to be for life. None of us want to think about it at that time that this may end one day. But you need to, at least, it's just like life insurance. You need to have like divorce insurance. You need to make a plan and know what you're going to do, and talk to advocates, and also understand that the divorce lawyers they do not have your best interest at heart. They're in it for the money. And I've talked to several women who have been through divorce, who were kind-hearted women who knew it didn't work out, and they just wanted to end it. And their lawyers, well, just say this about him, and you can say you were intimidated, or he scared you, or this or that. So they're trying to come up with anything to get more money out of you, or to give you less control or less access to your children. So just be aware that these are facets of this. And you usually go in, most guys blind and ignorant, and just like, oh, well, it's going to be nice and fair. It's the judicial system. You are wrong.
Yeah, and here's another reason why you don't want to play the game, because of exactly what you just said. The more you play the game, the more it's going to cost you financially. The only people that win in a divorce are the attorneys. The people that lose the most are the kids. The legal system really doesn't care, because it has so many, every single year there's, 900,000 divorces in America. 900,000 divorces every year in America. So it's such a backlog of cases that the court system, the judge really doesn't care. Really doesn't care. I mean, really doesn't. But again, and so the one the one that's going to benefit the most, and in divorce, I'm not painting all divorce attorneys as bad people. I know some great divorce attorneys, some great friends of mine that are divorce attorneys. But even they have opinions about other divorce attorneys. But the more you pay, or the more you play into those games, the more it's going to cost you. And one of the ways it'll cost you is financially, because all of them, well, I'll write up this motion, or I'll send this letter over to the other attorney, and they're going to bill you for everything that they do, and everything you want to go back and forth. Yeah, but dude, sometimes you got to take the L. Peace is worth way more than all of the drama and all of the games.
Yeah, you definitely want to have some sort of idea that this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I will accept, And if you can work that out with your partner or soon-to-be ex-partner without the lawyers in the courts, that is the best way. I'm sure Kirk will talk about that too. It's much cheaper, it's much faster, and it definitely affects the kids much less. The more you get the government involved, the more you get the lawyers involved, the more you get anybody else outside your family circle involved. They're not interested in your personal affairs. They don't care about you personally. And you're just another number on the docket. They don't care. They don't want to hear your stories. They're just going to use whatever math they're using, and that math is skewed towards the mother because that's how it is now. The children need to be with the mothers, and so that's how the court views it. Okay, well, kids need to be mothers, so that's where we're going to skew it towards them. And the less you involve the court system, if you can have an amicable divorce, the better off you're going to be.
More often than not, the judge is going to try to get you two to work it out. More often than not, the judge is not going to want to sit there and dictate, this is what's the judge is going to say, okay, you two go in the back room into the back conference room, you two and your attorneys, and you all figure it out, come back out here and let us know. Unfortunately, in my first marriage, we ended up doing that like 2 or 3 times. And every time we went back and try to work things out, and every time we come back out into the courtroom, the story changed. And so it just stretched out and stretched out and stretched out. But, and so, yeah, from a judge perspective, the judge doesn't really care. The judge doesn't not like you, and the judge doesn't like, unless you're a terrible human being, then, human nature kicks in and you deserve every punch in the face you get, period. Just it is what it is. But in terms of the system and in terms of all that, understand that when you play the games, really the only ones that are going to win are the attorneys. And the only ones that are going to lose the most are the kids, if they're kids. And second to that is going to be your pocket, your wallet.
Yeah, and I think one thing we realize too is that if you're going through this, the stiff upper lip, guys, isn't always the best thing to do. You want to let your kids know what's going on, at least give them some sort of a heads up, because kids are naturally egocentric. So if you're not talking to them and saying, hey, mommy and I are having issues and we're going to go talk about it and we may end up divorcing and it's not your fault, that kid's immediately going to go, like most of us were like, oh, my parents split, must be my fault. And because kids just naturally think that way. So do your kids a favor, at least include them a little bit. Let them know what's going on. You don't have to give them all the nitty gritty details, but let them know this is what's going on, because if not, they're going to make up their own story.
And reinforce to them that you love them. Yes. That this is not an easy time for you. It's not a good time for them. And you recognize that, but you love them and you always want to be there for them. And for the guy that's not married, that's hearing all this is a great reason why you sit down with some attorneys before you get married and maybe work out some of these details so that, if you, hopefully you don't, but if you get to the point where, where there is no negotiating or none of that kind of stuff at the end, where it just kind of is what it is. And when y'all decided to end the marriage, you already knew what the outcome was going to be. So absolutely. I think ultimately on this point, I would say you can't win by playing the game. So do not play the game. But when I say the game, I'm talking the emotional, gotta win / get even game that can happen and probably does happen in way more than 51 out of 100 divorces.
Absolutely. Yep, the game is not worth playing, fellas. So don't play the game. Don't get dragged into it. Don't let them pull your little feeling feathers and get you all butthurt. And because basically, once you get in your feelings, especially as a guy, you lose control. So if you're not rational, if you're not logical, then they're just pulling your strings, and now you're the victim to whatever they're manipulating you to do. So don't play the game.
And now we're going to play a game. We're going to put some strings on a break. We'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City and on the interwebs everywhere.
What's number 3-2? Don't be a punk.
What? No, okay.
Don't be a stitch. Oh yeah, this one's gonna be pretty technical.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's gonna be pretty technical.
Some technicalities. It's all about the technicalities.
This is gonna be pretty technical right here. This is gonna be pretty technical.
Okay. He's warning me up front. There's technicalities.
Well, there's some insight.
Principalities. Mm-hmm. My God. Are we ready? And we're back.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City.
Mama, it's the men again. The men again on the screen. It's that man on my screen again.
I told you about watching that channel.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you what, it's getting deep in here.
I'm telling you. talking about divorce. We're talking about some stuff that I wish I would have known going into the divorce process.
2 ago?
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I would have known back in 2002. That was 20 years ago. Oh, wait. Oh, who knew something could be sour for 20 years? Yeah. I'm not hurt. I mean, I'm saying I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not traumatized or nothing. You know, I've healed. You know, my Agent Orange is kicking every now and then.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You got divorce Tourette's.
Yeah, I got Tourette's. Yeah. Like, what? No. So yeah, all right, man. This one is.
So what are we getting into for number 32 here? So
number 32, depending on which way you want to count.
So it looks like we're going to talk about child support.
Child support.
Break it down for me, man.
Pay it.
Mm-hmm. We got to.
I ain't saying I'm just saying, pay it. You got to.
She's not a minor. She's not digging for what?
Yeah, I ain't saying she. But so here's the deal, fellas. You got to support your kids. I'm gonna go there first and foremost. You got to support your kids. Now, in supporting you have to support your kids. I mean, in every kind of way. You got to support them emotionally. You got to support them, relationally. You got to support them financially. Period. Now, going into the divorce process, you got to understand that it's a form. And by the way, none of this is like legal advice. We're not telling you, don't be coming back saying you should. And so this ain't legal advice. This is anecdotal experience. All right.
Experiential.
And so in most cases, I believe in all or almost all states, child support is a formula. Mm-hmm. So the court is not doing anything to you. It's a formula. And in most cases, most states, you can pull up the formula online and just plug in whatever numbers. And that formula is going to spit out a number. And it's based on how much one makes, how much the other one makes. And then, the finances that go into supporting the kids, like insurance and like daycare and all these different kinds of things, all these different kind of factors, whatever that formula dictates. And then whatever that number comes out at the bottom, it just kind of is what it is to a degree. In some cases, in some states, one side can go to the court saying, yeah, but I know that's what the number is, because some states have a maximum. And then a person, like if you're, somebody very wealthy, that maximum might be in that state might be $2,000 a month, but you work $50 million. And so they can come back saying, yeah, but we want an exception. So there are those kind of cases. But for the most part, for the average schmo, pretty much if you're listening to us, it's a formula, right? And you got to understand that a huge part of that formula is parenting time. And so, guys, if you go into it thinking, okay, man, she'll take 90% and I'll take 10%. I'll get them once a month, or I don't know, whatever that number pans out to be. You got to understand that percentage is going to equate to a dollar amount. All right. So part of that support of them is financial. A part of your understanding should be, how much time I have my kids throughout the month is going to impact the financial side of that equation. Not that the decision is just financial. I mean, but that's the reality of it. But some of it should be, I want to have time with my kids. Like I want to have part in raising my kids, because odds are if you're not with them ever, at some point sooner rather than later, it's going to come up of, well, we don't want to go over there ever, because we don't like going over there because I don't have my own room. I don't have my own space, blah, blah, blah. And then the number will turn into 100%. And then it just is what it is. So, if one person makes 100,000, the other person makes 50,000, then you have a $50,000 delta in there that, then you factor in how many days a year, all this other kind of stuff. But it's a formula. So the courts ain't coming after you in terms of child support. Huge factor I'm going to come back to, but I'm going to let you respond on that one.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, okay, this is pretty cut and dry. However, I have seen and heard a lot of horror stories of manipulation of that formula. And I see a lot of guys kind of getting told what their visitation rights are going to be, or told what their custody is going to be. I see a lot of guys who only have, kids every other weekend. They don't even have like 1 week on, 1 week off kind of thing. So to Kirk's point earlier, you got to fight for yourself. You got to be your own advocate, and you got to say, this is what I want. I want 50-50 to be 50-50. I don't want to be joint custody, and then I only see them twice a month for 1 or 2 days. Now, if you're still out there partying and playing and that's what you want to do, well, guess what? You get to pay for it. That's what the formula is going to bear out, that you only have them twice a month for 2 days. So that's 4 days out of 30 days. So guess what? You're paying for the rest of that.
That's exactly what I said that earlier. I mean, part of advocating for them is, again, not only your parental right, but it's your almost moral obligation, moral duty to stand up for yourself and to say, hey, I want to be part of my kids' lives and fight for as much time as you can get, as you can stand. If you travel 99% of the time for work and all that kind of stuff, then maybe that impacts your ability to have parenting time, and it just kind of is what it is. Then you got to expect that a good chunk of your check is going to go over to the parent that has the kid or kids, because that formula is also a number of kids. And so you got to factor that into it too. But you should absolutely, if possible, don't be afraid. You know, when my first divorce, man, my daughters were 4 and 2. I had no idea how to parent solo, let alone girls, right? I didn't know how to braid hair. I didn't know how to do none of that stuff. I didn't know how to buy clothes. I didn't know you can just like put them in a bathtub and let them take a bath. Like, you know, I mean, you know, it's funny, not so funny, but I used to like just wash them up, you know, stand on the toilet, I'll wash you up kind of thing. And like we used to do when I was young. But that's because we was broken in the hood, but whatever. But I mean, so I didn't know anything about any of that kind of stuff. So to me, it was like, okay, once a week and every other weekend, I think I can do that. Yeah, but I mean, I wish I would have fought more in the first marriage or the first divorce for more parenting time than I did. My second divorce, it was just like, it was straight up 50-50. It was week on, week off, like hands down, I'm going to stand up for this and I'm going to fight for this. And this is what I want. And that's what I got.
Yeah, and to the point of before, you want to don't do this alone. You want to have a group of guys. Other guys have gone through this. Other guys have experience. So to Kurt's point, if you don't have the experience or you're not sure what to do, and now you got the kids all by yourself, there are other men who can support you and help you out and tell you what to do, or at least maybe come over and support you and show you what to do. But you don't have to do it alone. And trying to do it alone is going to make it that much harder for you and the kids. So for your kids' sake and for your own sanity, get some support, ask some questions, put your pride down, put your hurt butt down, and reach out and ask another guy. I'm sure there's other guys out there who've been through it or going through it or will go through it and can support you. Because I know a lot of times when we go through our own stuff, we start talking to each other about, well, I'm going through this, or I need this, or I need to vent to you and talk about this. Just doing that and getting some feedback, when you don't feel like you're crazy, you don't feel like you're alone, and you feel like, well, maybe I can get through this.
Method to the madness. Again, that's why we started off saying don't do it alone. Get into a group of guys. You probably know some guys you definitely know some guys who've been through divorce. And especially if you get into a group of guys who've all been through it or going through it, and you don't want to trauma bond. You don't want to sit around, crying in your Wheaties, talking about woe is me. But, to get around other guys and to hear different perspectives. Like I said, I wish I would have had a guy in my life that could say, yeah, man, I had some daughters too, young daughters too, and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And here's daycare. Here's how you do lunches. Here's how you cook. When I got that first apartment after during my first divorce, I went to the dollar store and I bought everything I needed from the dollar store. I didn't know anything about, cooking or any of that kind of stuff, but it's important to advocate to be in your kids' lives. And in any case, that is a method of supporting your kids. And I don't care who you are. And I'm not even going to tell you how much money I was paying child support wise, because somehow as soon as we started the divorce process, she quote unquote lost her job. And I found out later that she didn't lose her job. She found a way to conveniently get let go. And man, my original child support was like I was a professional football player. I'm not even joking with that. It was ridiculous. I was working 3 jobs, waiting tables, working a corporate job, and working in my buddy's coffee shop just to make that payment. And that child support is tax-free on the other side. You got to pay taxes on that, but it's tax-free on the other side. If it's maintenance or spousal support, they pay taxes. If it's child support, they don't pay taxes. You do. And so, and again, in that, you make sure that it's documented that you're going to claim them on taxes. If you're paying all of that, whatever, who is claiming what year and what taxes and all those kinds of things, because that tax credit is important. So if you're not the primary custodial parent or whatever it is, make sure that it's outlined in all of the documentation and decree and dissolution, who claims them on what years and when on taxes. So I'm telling you that child tax credit every year, that's money back in your pocket. And you've been paying taxes on child support that whole time.
Wow. Man. So yeah, a little eye-opening right there. So to that point, also remember, gentlemen, child support isn't just financial. It's also emotional. It's also about time and attention and being there and doing things. And so I see some guys who either just don't know any better, but they're like, well, I pay my child support, so that's good enough, right? It's like, no, that's your child. They need you in their life. They need the experience of you being there. So that's why fighting for yourself and having other guys around to support you so that you can be the best example, you can be the best father you can be, and be a part of the children's life. Child support is not just financial. There's so many other things. I mean, for any one person, you need financial, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Those are the 4 tires on the person. And if you're just throwing money at the problem, you got 3 flats. So make sure that it's not just about the money. I know you get very caught up in, oh well, the wallet. We're just walking wallets to these women and these kids, and all I do is throw them money. But don't let that skew you or make you so jaded that you don't spend time and give them attention and teach them from your experience and be the best father and example you can be. Because, yeah, it may feel like it's just money, but it's not just money. You are a human being. You are a whole person, and they need all of you, not just your wallet.
And still show up at games, show up at school, parent-teacher conferences. You need to be there. You need to be physically in their lives as a father, as a dad. You need to make sure that who knows what's being told about you in the other household. And, man, I'm telling you, I'm going to get to that here in a little bit later in this last segment. But who knows what the narrative is being told about you. You have to make sure that when the tape plays back years from now, if nothing else, they can say he was there. He was at the game. He was at the concert, the recital. He was at the conference. He was on the school field trip. I mean, he was, unless there's some restraining order that keeps you away from your kids, you have to fight in order to support them, even in physically being in their life. And sometimes it is a fight. Sometimes the other side makes it difficult for you to be a part of the kids' lives. Bruh, you got to do what you got to do, but it comes down to supporting your kids and making sure that when the story plays back, you were never the absentee father. No matter what the story is, that you were physically there, that there are memories of you and your face being physically there in the moment. And that is part of the child support too, just like you just said.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing too. Don't even try to get stuck on being perfect. You don't have to know what to say as long as you're there. I mean, let your kids see you struggling. Let them see, because you're actually teaching by example. Like, life is going to be rocky, and we're all going to struggle. And what you got to do is put one foot in front of the other and keep it moving. And this is how I'm keeping it moving. And that's the best example. You show up and you let them come over and you show them that you don't know how to do the dishes and you don't know how to wash the clothes right, but you're figuring it out. Well, you're showing them life lessons just by being there, just by doing normal everyday things. And for all of us who've lost people, we know it's usually the little mundane things like doing the dishes or having dinner or laundry or whatever, doing those little things are the things that are most important when you look back on it after you've lost somebody. So just be there. Presence for a man is the most important thing to the children. Just be there as much as you can be.
I had to learn how to 3-braid hair. I didn't know how to do that. I mean, it was growing up. It was me, my brother, and my mom. My mom didn't even have to do hair growing up. It was me and my brother, right? So I had no idea how to do any of that kind of stuff, and I absolutely had to learn. But I believe that as a man and as health, in the vein of healthy masculinity, sometimes we have to fight to be there. Sometimes we have to fight to be recognized. But we got to make sure that child support, is not just financial. That's a huge part of it, to make sure their needs are taken care of, especially if you got it. Like, if you got it, bro, make sure your kids. And I know I get it, right? You sending money over there and they in Disneyland with some other dude, right? I get all that. You have to make sure that you provide, the adequate lifestyle for them that you absolutely can, but you also have to fight for them from a support perspective. And speaking of support,
do we need to ask for some support?
Let's ask for some support. Will you please support us, please, baby, please?
We're looking for sponsorship and advertising. Please support us.
Absolutely. So we're going to go to a break here, and we'll be right back. Mad Men and Masculinity, 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City and on the interwebs, everywhere. That one might have been over 13 minutes. I didn't even start the timer.
No, because we're still only at 44. So
I was looking at that. I was like, yeah, we probably about right. Right on. That's what she said.
How do you know? You didn't check.
Never mind.
Yeah, never mind. Okay, that's good. You don't want to listen to what we said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Hey, if you want to, you can turn on number one. I've got the headphones over it, so when you talk, it'll hear it.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. So he's got the headphones on number one, and so yeah. Boom.
Okay.
All right, ready to rock and roll. Close this bad boy
Yeah,
out.
we're gonna come back at you.
We be back.
No, we not.
We be back.
Okay, I'm back.
We back.
I'm back.
We back.
I lied. I'm back.
We back.
We back. It's the fourth quarter
We
time.
back.
Fourth and goal.
Hey, when I was growing up, we used to eat something called fatback.
Yes.
You know about that? You from the country?
Man.
Yo, that was nothing but just a chunk of fat, dude. It was.
Well, no, there was that little pink strip.
It was but it was
it's
pretty
like,
much just a chunk of fat.
Yeah, it's like when you get the bacon and it's just the one edge where
and they used to cut it up in a square, and they would have a little price tag on that thing, just some fat back, put it in some greens or something like that, some collard greens. Man, anyhow, we back, but we ain't fat back.
Well,
that's debatable.
That's
debatable. You know, man. That's debatable.
It's a fight. I'm fighting
bad bondage happening here. Boom. We talking about divorce and the stuff that I wish. Maybe 4 things anyway. There's a whole laundry list I probably could have, but 4 things that I wish between the two of us that I would have known.
Yeah, and I'm happy to learn vicariously through you, so that maybe I'm aware of these things in the future, so I don't make the same mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with learning from other people's mistakes, you know. And I think a lot of the stuff that we go through, you know, I think personally, a lot of stuff that we go through, man, if we can go through it for somebody else's benefit, then it was worth it.
Yeah. I
mean, sometimes you got to pay. You always got to pay a price for a lesson. And so these are lessons that I've learned that, and I'm a believer in marriage, and I believe that I'm going to be married again one day to my last wife, and I'm going to incorporate all of these things. That's why my second divorce went the way it did over my first divorce, even though the marriage fell apart. You know, I believe that it went differently because I learned something. So I believe learning something is great.
He can learn things. He went to public school, but he can learn.
Old dog, new tricks.
Yeah. So
last
let's get down to the top of the list or the bottom of the list or however we counted this down. So the countdown goes to.
Yeah, you want to recap?
Yeah, let's recap.
All right.
So number 1 or number 4.
Sure.
Don't be alone. Don't do it alone. Don't isolate yourself. Make sure you got a support system. Number 2 or 3, don't play the game. Don't get in the game. Don't get emotional. Don't let them pull your strings. Number 3, 4, 2, whatever it is, child support. Child support is more than financial. It's time. It's attention. You got to fight for your kids. And number 1 on Johnny's top 10 or top 4, whatever we're doing.
Child support is also financial. But hey, make sure, and you can say that, and make sure whatever the age cutoff is, you know, you got to stop that, by the way. You got to call them to let them know to stop that. And the other huge thing about that was, and I know we ain't getting to the point with it, but the whole huge thing about that is, here's the reality too, fellas. When you're on the hook for child support, you pay the court pays her, right? If you don't pay, they come after you. If you don't pay child support, they come after you in various ways. You're right into your bank account, right into your paycheck, your tax returns. They can put you in jail, take your driver's license, all that kind of stuff. Here's the unfortunate reality: you get a lot of these dysfunctional moms. You can be paying child support, but if part of that is parenting time and you don't get your parenting time, there's really no repercussions. This is reality. They're not going to go after her for missed parenting time. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm just saying that's a reality. So you need to understand that, you know, you might have to fight for these things, especially in terms of child support. So sorry about that. I meant that, but
you just had a recap. We had a little recap there of section 3.
I wish they would change that in the law.
Yeah,
like seriously, I wish that was part of. I wish there were consequences to that.
Oh yeah, no, there needs to be accountability on both sides.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, very heavily on the one side nowadays.
Yeah,
but
number 1.
So it's going to be okay. No.
And the odds are I don't know if anybody could hear that link online is Nikki Cole, super producer, said, yeah, you can go and you can file for kind of basically whatever they call it legally, a redo of the whole child custody thing. That's going to cost you.
And time.
That's going to cost you. If you don't pay child support, the courts already know. Like, there's no enforcement. Like the custodial parent doesn't have to go to the court saying, hey, you know, he didn't pay child support and get a lawyer and all that kind of stuff. If you want to go back and rehash the parenting time thing, you got to get a lawyer to do that. You can't just go to the child support office and deal with that. So it's definitely going to cost you. And most of the time, it's from the guy perspective. So just heads up, man. We got to get.
Well, I'm telling you, and guys, we're telling you all this and all the harsh reality of this, so that you can be aware, because it is skewed against you. And yeah, they'll come after you. She doesn't have to say anything. They'll come after you for the money.
Because you owe the court.
Because you got to pay the court. They pay her, so they get their percentage, whatever it is. But if you want to make a change, then you got to call the lawyer. You got to do all that stuff. But back to number one, it's going to be okay.
It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
It's going to be all right.
And fellas, you need to hear this. I'm telling you, brother, if you are in this situation, man, I know it can be tough. And I know it can be lonely. And I know you seeing your life fall apart. I know you seeing, this dollar amount that's going to be, that's told to you, and it's going to be something that's going to come out of your paycheck for the next umpteen years or whatever it is. And you're seeing this hopeless. You're seeing there's no way out. You're seeing, you might have to go get another job. You might have to whatever. And I'm telling you guys, and I'm even speaking to myself 20 years ago, it's going to be all right. I mean, it's going to be that child support that you're paying, eventually it'll end. I mean, the child support, I don't know, depending on however that's worked out, whether it's a certain number of years or forever, I don't know. But either way, it's going to be okay. Just hold on and just trust me. It's going to suck. I mean, it's gonna suck. But a true measure of a warrior is being able to embrace the suck and still being the good man that you are. But it's gonna be okay. It can seem hopeless, and you can seem like, man, who's gonna want me if I'm paying this much every month to my ex and all this other kind of stuff? Here's the reality, though, fellas. And this is totally a fellas thing. Probably more than 90%, probably more than 90 out of 100 cases, the ex-husband, the man moves on to the next relationship, solid long-term relationship before the woman. I don't know too many scenarios where the ex-wife has moved on to a healthy relationship before the ex-husband does. That's one example. You make of it what you will, but if you ask around, you divorce people, you ask the men and the women who've been through divorce, you look at those scenarios, odds are he's going to be remarried or in a healthy relationship sooner than her. I have no idea why that is, but it just is what it is. That's one example.
I have some thoughts, though.
I can definitely hypothesize.
Well, I would think that he learned through the first experience, and so now he's smarter and wiser, and then he goes and uses that new bit of wisdom, and then she doesn't realize that now she's a single mother in a sea of single mothers who are not necessarily as high on the sexual marketplace value as they think they used to be. That's just my 2 cents right off the top. I don't know. Could be.
It could be. I mean, point being, that's not the point. That's just an example of the point that I'm trying to make, is that it's going to be okay, man. I mean, another woman is going to see all of your shine. Especially if you get it right. If you work on you, and if you fix you, and if you do all the right things to be the best man that you can be, and be the upright man you can be, it's going to be okay, and you'll have an okay time, especially if you work on you and get your poop in the group. It'll be okay in the future relationally. It'll be okay in the future career-wise, financially, all those kinds of things. There will be a day where you'll write that last child support check, and you can mail it to her in nickels and dimes, and just say, you can make it hail. Just drive by the house and throw a bag of pennies up on the porch. Whatever it is. There'll be a day, man, where it's going to be okay, man. And so hang on there and keep being the upright man that you are, that you want to be. And don't worry about the narratives. Don't worry about the story that's being told about you, all that kind of stuff. I believe that that there's not as many deadbeat dads as there are scorned moms who tell bad stories about dads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and as you go through this, if you are going through it and you're wanting it to be okay and you want to know it's going to be okay, go back down the list. Don't be alone. Don't do it alone. Get you a group of guys who've been through it. Even if they haven't been through it, they can still be supportive of you. They can still make you feel better and make you know that you're going to get up the next day and things are going to be okay. Don't play the games. Don't get caught up in the games. Make your life as simple as possible. And if you can, don't even get the lawyers and the court involved if you can. And then, make sure you're supporting your kids. If you're doing those things, it's going to be okay because you're taking care of business. You got a plan. You got support. And the sun looks bright when you get up in the morning because you know what? It's just another day. You got to handle your business.
Yeah. You're a resilient man. And again, we are speaking to men. He's not necessarily for men at this particular show, but
Talking to you, man.
talking to you, brother. Brother to brother who's been there multiple times. I can tell you it's going to be okay. Like, I'm serious. At some point, the money will stop leaving your bank account. At some point, your peace will come back to you. At some point, you work on you will have a healthy relationship in the future. I mean, you go on and on all the things that you feel like you're losing right now. Especially if you work on yourself, you will gain all of that back. There's no need to self-delete. There's no need to hit self-destruct. There's no need to do something cray-cray. There's no need to end up in cuffs or somewhere where you don't need to be. There's no need to end up under a bridge in addiction, any of those kind of things. It's going to be okay, man. Just hang in there. Reach out to us if you need some support, some encouragement, all those kinds of things. We are absolutely here for you. But fellas, brother to brother, it's going to be okay.
Just remember, all wisdom comes through struggle, and this is just your next struggle. It's going to be all right.
And then, going forward, learn from it.
Oh, yeah.
Do it different.
You better learn from it.
If you don't learn from it, you're going to pay all over again.
Do it again.
I'm telling you, I didn't learn the first time, and my big old knucklehead, big dummy, knucklehead, Charles Barkley, knucklehead. I didn't learn any of that kind of, and so, but even when I went through the divorce the second time, I learned at least enough from the divorce the first time. And so learn all the lessons and apply all those lessons going forward. When you get into your next relationship, do the things right, do the things better, do the things that you didn't do the first time. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again and getting the same results, you crazy.
Yeah. And remember, if you're looking in the mirror trying to do your work, remember, look at your partner, look at your ex-partner, look at yourself. Why did you get with her? Why did she get with you? What did you learn? What do you not want to repeat? And make sure you don't do that, because we all have a pattern. We all have a type, and we'll let that butt blind us and end up right back in the same situation. So make sure you learn and don't allow yourself to do that. And that's why having a group of guys around you that will say, hey, you're doing it again. Don't be a knucklehead.
Don't drink that poison back in the day. Don't trust a big butt and smile. That girl is poison. Yeah, don't do that. You do stuff different, man. Do stuff different. Find somebody that's your type and your person and do that stuff different. And man, we're gonna keep talking about this. We got some other angles to go in, man, going forward, man. Stay tuned, stay in touch. Holler at your boys, comment. If you watch us, comment, like, subscribe, all those kinds of good things, man. Chuck Norris, that subscribe button, man, and Will Smith, that like button. And hit that bell for notifications too.
If you missed any part of this, go find us on YouTube, Mad Men of Masculinity. Go to Facebook, Mad Men Radio, or just go to madmenradio.com. All the links are there. You can catch up on all the past episodes. You can be notified on the future episodes, and you can comment, like, and subscribe. And you can tell us how crazy we are, and we'll just keep on being crazy for you.
And if you disagree, let us know you disagree. We'll punch you in the face afterwards, but just kidding. We won't punch you in the face. We might punch ourselves.
See what happens when you talk about divorce? Get you. See
work. Agent Orange kicking in.
Don't play that game.
Hey, with that, Mad Men
out.